Runny Nose Culture Cast.
Right.
Hey there, welcome to Rave Culture Cast, a podcast dedicated to fans of EDM and music festival culture. My name is Emma Capotis, a festival fanatic and dance music enthusiast who turned my passion for raving into an online career working with some of the biggest names in the industry. Festival tips, advice, hot topics, industry news, music, and more are all discussed here. Think of me as your unofficial rave mom, here to help you navigate the EDM community and festival world. Tune in every Wednesday for your weekly dose of peace, love, unity, and respect.
It's a music festival review episode. So you know you're going to have scratchy throats, runny noses, and party girl voice is what's going to happen. So welcome to the podcast, Lexie.
Woo!
How we doing?
Unwell. Thank you for asking.
Actually, unwell.
Day 7 now after Oki, and I still feel like I sound like it's what happened yesterday.
Yeah. And you guys will probably recognize Lexie from the Electric Forest vlogs, now the Okeechobee vlogs, which are all up at this point, if you haven't checked them out yet. But I wanted to preface this episode by saying that one, we have a lot to unpack here. And two, if you know the two of us, like we obviously like to have a lot of fun together, and you're going to see that like in this episode and in the vlogs. But obviously there was a lot that happened with Okeechobee. A lot of chatter online this week about it. There was a very serious incident that happened at the festival this year that we are going to talk about. So there's going to be lots of ups and downs, but I don't want it to come off as like a very lighthearted episode when there are like serious topics we're going to be talking about as well. So you guys know we will always keep it real and honest with these reviews. And with that being said, are we ready to go?
Let's do it.
Sweet. All right. Before we dive in, you guys, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Purple Garden. If some of you guys are connected with your spiritual side, like myself, and you are interested in exploring psychic readings, tarot card readings, astrology, many more options, Purple Garden is a platform that connects you with all types of readers from a wide variety of categories and experts in this field. So you can go to their site, browse their by specialty rating, review, pricing, and then you can choose to chat either via text, phone call, or video call, which is really cool. And readers are also English speaking or Spanish speaking, which is a really nice option. So we have a link for you, trypurplegarden.com/RCC if you guys want to start browsing. And then as a new customer of Purple Garden, you can use my code RCC to get your first deposit of $10 matched. So again, trypurplegarden.com/RCC and plug in code RCC. Let us know how it is and what you guys think about it. All right. With all that being said, we're going to kick off this episode with some hot announcements here, which I haven't said yet, which is crazy. But this festival was very special for a lot of reasons. And one of those being that I'm pregnant. Woo! Surprise. Which is fucking crazy. So yeah, this is my first music festival pregnant. I haven't had a chance to share the news with you guys yet. So we're going to talk about that in today's episode. It is not visible in the vlogs. I kept it out of the vlogs because I hadn't shared the announcement publicly yet. But yes, very, very excited. More content to come on that. That's not what today's episode is about. But I just wanted to share the news with our RCC fam here. Yeah, and we saw a lot of pregnant women at this festival too, which was
so many more than we expected.
Yeah, there was a lot at this fest. I feel like the camping festival culture kind of like lends itself to that. I saw some pregnant women at Electric Forest as well last summer.
I feel like we saw more women who were like further along in their pregnancy than you typically would.
Oh yeah.
Like, there were so many women that we would look over and you could tell they were like hard third trimester, just living their best life, which was cool.
Yeah. I was looking at them like, how are they tired? What the hell is going on here? But yeah, so that was super exciting. But in today's episode, kind of how these recaps are structured, we're going to take you through our whole weekend. So we're going to talk a little bit about arrival and check-in, the VIP car camping that we did. We're going to go over Chobe Wobe Village, which was kind of like the main area that the campers had access to. We'll talk about the overall vibe of the festival, production, stages, safety is something we're going to address. And then we're going to do a day-by-day breakdown and talk about like the sets, all the different things we did like throughout the weekend. So let's quickly touch on kind of like the prep beforehand and what our arrival was like. How many months have we been? Actually, we haven't been planning too long, but we talked about it every single day.
I feel like it's been since like December where we really made that decision, but it felt like so long because we talked every single day about the intimate details of what we were planning.
Literally, we had a Google. I mean, I recommend this for anybody. Like we had our Google sheet going, like or not a Google sheet. We had our notepads going. We had our packing list together, what we needed to buy at Walmart. Like, yeah, we were very communicative and I felt like very prepared going into this festival for first timers, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than not understanding the orientation or layout of this festival.
I don't think it makes a lot of sense if you're not like physically there.
Yeah.
But it's so different from other festivals.
It really is. Yeah. So, I mean, one thing I'll quickly touch on that we did. So we were coming from different places, myself from New Jersey, Lexie from Washington State. So we booked a hotel Wednesday night in Orlando, which wasn't that bad of a drive. It was a 2-hour drive there and like an hour and a half back. If that, it was very quick home. And it was the move. We picked a hotel directly across from a shopping center on purpose. So there was like a Walmart, Dunkin' Donuts, like all kinds of chain restaurants, like anything and everything we would need. It was literally across the way. So that came in clutch. And I recommend doing that because we didn't want to do any of the Walmarts like next to Okeechobee because they would be like completely wiped out of supplies. So we placed an order in advance. We were able to pick up a lot of our supplies and then we went and got like food, snacks, all the good things that we needed to like pick up other than that. So that was really nice. And then
it was also nice to have a real shower one more night before we went into Okeechobee.
Very, very true. Yep. And it was like not that, I mean, everything was pretty smooth with like checking in, we said kind of, right? We were like, this all is going according to plan right now, which is good.
It started that way.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. We knew it was going to go downhill from there. And then, so one other thing, Thursday morning, there was no early option, like early arrival option at Okeechobee. Like other festivals, like you can get there a day early and set up and then the festival starts the next day. That wasn't the case. It was like everyone arrives on Thursday and the festival starts on Thursday. So we had gotten tickets through Insomniac because I'm an affiliate. And so we had to go to the will call line, which we weren't sure when it opened. It first said 10 a.m., but then they updated the times on Twitter and said 7 a.m. We still ended up getting there at like 9:50, which worked out in our favor because it was opening at 10. And there were people that got there at like 8 a.m. and were standing online in the heat for like 2 hours.
It was sunny and hot. There was no reprieve from the sun at all in that.
No, definitely not. So we like lucked out. And I think I wrote down, it took us like about from the time we got there to the time we left, like we got there at like 9:50 and we were on the road again by like 11:10. So not horrible. And then checking in. So let's talk about our experience arriving to the campground. So we did VIP car camping. There was all kinds of options. There was GA, VIP car camping, RV, GA plus, like you had options of what you wanted to do. There was glamping, like bungalow tents, which were preset for you. So we definitely wanted our car with us, which was a huge thing. So they took us a back way, like there was a main entrance. And then if you were like VIP or RVs or glamping, you went around the back of the festival. So we were driving through the boonies for like 30 minutes, right?
They did not have enough signage. Like we would drive like a mile and a half past the last sign and we'd be like, oh man, we definitely missed something. And then all of a sudden there'd be like one little sign on the side of the road that just said like RV festival to the right.
Yeah, exactly. We were just like trusting that had to just keep going straight.
Faith in the universe.
But once we were there, and again, at that point, maybe it was noon, probably ish, like around that time, I would say we got there. No line really. Like by the time we like got there and drove through, they made like RVs go to one side and then cars go to the other side. And security probably took us less than 2 minutes.
Not even, and they recognized you too, which was hilarious.
That was awesome. That happened at Camp EDC as well. One of my subscribers was like checking us in. So they really, I mean, we didn't literally have like much in our car anyway, but they really did not check the car.
No, they pretty much just like opened the back, peeked in, and then like kind of patted some of like the soft stuff, like our like backpacks and stuff, but they didn't really do much other than that, which is like good for timeline, it gets everybody in really fast, but also security wise.
Yeah, this is going to be a recurring theme you guys are going to hear in this episode, but so from there we drive.
This is where it all goes downhill.
This was my bad. Okay, there wasn't a lot of signage, but basically they wrote a giant V on our car, which we later figured out was like probably VIP. And we were just following cars in. No, not much signage at all. And there were very few staffers, which I will say, like actually working the grounds. So we finally got to this one spot and the guy was like waving us straight, but all the cars were going left. And my dumb ass was like, I'm going to follow all the cars, even though the guy was waving me straight. So I thought
he didn't stop you. He didn't say like, oh, you're going the wrong direction.
Yeah. So we drove into the GA campsite, not knowing. And then meanwhile, like we pull up to the spot we're supposed to be, and this guy gets out and he's like, you're in the middle of like a 20-car campsite. And we were like, well, we can't do anything about that. Like, this is just the way we figured it out. So we literally get out of the car and start setting up our tent. Did we set up the canopy? No, we set up
the tent. And the whole time I'm like, I feel like this is wrong. Like, I don't know why, but I feel in my bones we are in the wrong spot. Like, we are so far. Not that we know anything about the campgrounds or like the festival grounds, but from what we could see, it felt like we were so freaking far. And I was like, I don't know, something feels weird, but we just kept setting up. There was nobody working. Like, there was one person walking around guiding cars.
Yeah.
So we were like, whatever, let's just keep setting up.
No. So, and like, thank God Lexie had to pee. So she's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And then her face coming back from the bathroom, you were just like, we're in GA. This is not right. Pack it up. We gotta go. And I was like, fuck. I kind of had a feeling too. So and meanwhile, it's noon, like 12:30, the sun is beating down on us. I'm friggin' preggers. I'm like sweating my ass off. So we just literally take the tent, throw it in the back of the fucking car. And we're like, okay, now we're literally just going to go rogue. And luckily, like Lexie talked to a staffer and he like lifted this rope and let like drive through to VIP car camping, which was 1,000,000% worth moving, of course, because it was much closer. And then we like the air conditioned bathrooms. We were in a good spot. We were right near the showers. We were right near the general store. Like, it was convenient, I would say.
Yeah. I feel like something we should mention is like the staffing in the campground to get in was just almost non-existent. Like, we realized we were in GA and I like flagged the one person down that was like guiding the cars. And they were like, I can't help you with that. Yeah. And I was like, okay, love that.
Right.
But I need assistance.
And
they were like, you're going to have to find someone in a golf cart. And I was like, that is not helpful. So fast forward to me in the heat, like sprinting around, sweating, like trying to find someone in a golf cart.
I know. Like, it was not fun.
And even in VIP, like we got there and there was one person parking every single car. Like, it just wasn't enough.
And then on top of like, it clearly, I mean, I always chalk it up to like every Thursday of the festival from what I've seen so far as a shit show. Camp EDC Thursday was a shit show. Electric Forest was kind of a shit show. And it always seems like staff just is not properly prepared, because same thing, like we got our spot in VIP car camping and then our neighbors came and they did not have a car. They just had their supplies and they started setting up. And then a staffer came over and like, I don't know if they were necessarily like rude, but they definitely had a tone with them. And they were like, you don't have a car, you can't be here. And the couple was like, where the fuck do we go? Like, this other staffer told us it was okay. And so the staffers were like disagreeing with what they were telling people. And then another two girls, the same thing. They were like, a staffer told us to come in here. And the other one was like, you both don't have cars, you can't stay here. And they're just meanwhile with all their shit, lugging it in the heat, trying to figure out like where the fuck to go. And I felt so bad for both of them.
And it was rough because like, once they said, okay, we understand, they started like repacking all their stuff. And the staffer literally started yelling at them. Like, I don't know, like, if you heard this part, the staffer was not only yelling at them, but started touching their stuff and started like, they had a tarp laid out. So it wasn't like anything breakable, but the staffer literally started like kicking their stuff, like kicking their tarp to the side and was like, you need to move. You need to move. And she was like,
the girl was like, I'm trying to pack it.
I can.
And it was not like there was a line of cars.
No, there were no cars coming at all.
Oh my God. So anyway, so that was wrapping up our arrival. I do want to talk a little bit more about our area. I know you've camped more times than me, Lexi, but you mentioned something about the size of the lot.
The size of the camp, like each camping spot was super small. I mean, we had a 6-person tent, right? Our tent was technically 6-person, which means if you've done any camping, that 3 people will fit in there comfortably, right? But these campsites could hold, I think it's up to 5 or 6 people. It was 5. And 2 of us fit comfortably in this campsite. Like I could not have, and we were in VIP, which typically at like camping festivals, the more you spend, the bigger your spot tends to be. At least that's how it is at the Gorge. And our camp spot at VIP was no bigger than our camp spot in GA. And if we had 4 people, there is no way we would have had enough space to be comfortable.
Yeah, without like having our lounge area and like all of that kind of stuff. Like we just fit with our like screened in canopy and our tent. So yeah, that definitely felt a little tight. The fucking canopy we'll talk about. But really quickly, so again, we can only talk about our experience. VIP car camping was right kind of behind Okeechobee area. So we were in a good area over there. And like I mentioned, there was a general store. I felt like it had a lot of stuff. Like Lexi bought a air mattress on site because she decided to be more comfortable. They had we bought better like metal stakes for our tent because we heard it was going to be windy. They had like refrigerators, ice was about $7 at that general store. And then showers were free, which was nice. And then there were air conditioned trailer bathrooms in that area.
And that general store was pretty small, even though it was very well stocked, but also the general store inside Chobe Village, which we didn't go in, but we had kind of seen from afar, they literally had tents. So if God forbid something had happened with the crazy winds or whatever it is, you forgot something, you really could have bought anything at the general stores there, which I think is not super common based on like the camping festivals I've been to. The Gorge, you forget something, like you're kind of just screwed.
Oh shit, really? Oh God. Okay. Yeah, no, I felt like I don't really remember forests too much. I just remember it being like super expensive and they only had like a couple things, but no. So like I would say convenience wise, that was great. I would do VIP again. VIP also included this like lounge area, which was really nice. So it was fucking huge. Again, like we had the car camping, and then as we walked towards like this open lounge area past the bathrooms, there was the glamping, the shift pod tents, and then it was just this big area roped off for VIP that had some shading structures, games, a beauty bar, like 2 food trucks, a VIP concierge,
some art installations to like take pictures by.
Yep. And then there was this like, I don't know, I'm assuming we're calling these things retention ponds now. There was like a pond with water, and then there was this like bridge, which you can see in the vlogs. And that bridge connected you from VIP to, I believe it was GA plus RVs, right? So you could go back and forth. You just had to like show your wristband to like,
and that was really pretty, like especially at sunset, like it was beautiful, but at the same time, it almost felt useless because for us, it was so infrequent that we needed to go to GA plus, and we had friends in that area. Like we went there, I went there maybe twice the whole weekend, but it didn't make life easier for anyone in GA plus either, because they couldn't cross over it, because that would be either taking them into VIP and they weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
Kind of snuck it once, but like, I'm not really sure what the like usefulness of that was, other than it being really, really pretty.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we did get to check out the RV areas. And I said to Lexi, like, I think just moving forward at camping festivals, I think I just need to be an RV bitch, because I was prepared for the heat, but not really. Like once you're in it every day, you're like, this is unbearable, like absolutely unbearable. There's no way to escape it. Like the heat level in the tent and the canopy, like we ended up deciding, and we'll talk about it, to like go into the festival at like 2 p.m. every day, because we were like, we can't sit here. It's just like too much.
And I mean, like day 1 and day 2 were unbelievably windy. So like that kind of gave us a little bit of reprieve from it when you could like feel the breeze. But day 3, it was so fucking hot, like without that breeze, that we just literally felt like we were melting. We did not feel like humans. We felt like puddles. Like it was just not, and it was no hotter. It was just the breeze was gone.
Exactly. So. Florida, man. Yep.
Yeah.
And I will say too, like, and you can get different size RVs. Like one of my friends from Beatbox, she got this like single person camper van, and she was in staff parking. And I was like, even doing that in the future rather than like a whole bus, I don't know. But I just am like, you got to know your limits. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be an RV. I need a bathroom. I need the air conditioning all the time. Like, it's just something I'm going to personally choose moving forward. And especially like, again, I'll do separate content being pregnant. If you guys are pregnant, like I just very much listened to my body and I was like, you're too fucking hot. You need to go take a shower or you need to go to the air conditioned bathrooms. And I would literally stand in the bathrooms just to cool down for a little bit. Cause I was like, this is getting too hot for me.
Yeah.
So
can I give a shower tip here? Should we wait?
Yeah, shower tips. Do it.
Shower tips. VIP. Obviously we can't speak to anything else. Going first thing in the morning, unless you go before 8 a.m., wait. Like if you go before 8 a.m., you're pretty much fine. But like if you went between like 8:30 and noon, I mean, it was over an hour wait. I only showered one day.
Mm-hmm.
She's a clean girl and I'd never been so dirty in my entire life. But the day I did shower, I went at like 12:30 and I literally walked in. Like there was not a single person in line. And that was pretty much every day. I think everyone woke up early expecting to need to shower and like to beat the lines. And that just caused the lines to be longer earlier.
Yeah.
And once it was like after 12:30, if there was any line at all, it was like a 10-minute wait. So definitely, if you are someone who wants to shower every day, just either wake up super early or wait on it. Like truly, if you just wait a couple more hours and you would have had no wait at all.
Yeah. And I read some things online about GA being like extremely bad. And like, again, we didn't see that. So we don't know. At this particular VIP car camping, it was 4 trailers, I believe, right? 1,
4 or
2,
5. Yeah.
Yeah. And there were like 3 showers in each. And I agree. Like I was getting up very, very early every day. So one day I showered at 8 a.m. Same thing, was quick. And then actually the 2 times I went in first thing in the morning, I just beat that line. And then I went with Lexie at like the 12:30 time and we walked right in. But I agree. Like when I was coming out of the showers, 8:30 and on, there was a line like crazy. So yeah, definitely just wait it out if you can.
And accessibility wise, they did have an accessibility shower, given the people in line for that, whatever, but they did have an accessibility shower that had its own entrance. So if you are someone who would have needed that accommodation, they did have it, which I thought was really great. And you don't always see.
Agreed. Yeah. But I think, that was it kind of like for VIP area. I mean, we didn't go in them, but the shift pods and glamping looked cool. Like that's definitely a good option if that's something you want to do. Those were even closer to the entrance of the festival because they were like right on the edge. But let's chat Okeechobee Village. Moving on. So this is like any kind of like, if you're thinking of Main Street in your campgrounds, but it's like, again, the orientation of this festival, which we'll get into, is interesting. So Okeechobee Village is kind of like very, very big. You have Okeechobee, which is a stage that is all 4 days and it's in the campgrounds and it has like this beachy kind of area. Then you have the Ferris wheel right there. And then you see like some art installations and then there's like a big sign that says like Okeechobee Village that you walk into. And that's where it's like vendor village, more food, Yogachobe, which was like an activities tent. They had a wellness forest, which was like all kinds of like cool shit we'll talk about. So these were like all areas you could like walk around in that were technically for the campgrounds, but you could also scan into them, right?
Yeah, it kind of felt like Okeechobee was like the heart and soul of the festival. Like in my mind, even though they technically weren't, like Okeechobee and Sendia, like Jungle 51, like in my mind, they kind of were all part of Okeechobee Village because you didn't really need to like do anything special to get into it. Like Jungle 51, you did have to scan to get into, right? But other than that, like I don't know, like as where everyone came, like especially because it was so hot, like everyone was just hanging out there and relaxing there. The wellness forest was so special. Like I've never seen that many types of like spirituality, wellness, like practices that at any other festival. All the food, like it really did feel like the heart of Okeechobee was in Okeechobee Village.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of saying it. The Grand Artique was in there too. Yeah, but like it just was interesting because we didn't understand how the stages were. But yeah, you did have like technically Okeechobee there. Jungle 51 is on its own, and you did have to scan your band every time you went in there. That was like off to the side. Then you had like the beachy kind of area, art installations. Then you had the village, which had even more vendors, wellness forest, Yogachobe, then the Grand Artique, which was all in this like tree, like shaded area. Then when you walk around, there's a security checkpoint to get you into Be Here and Now. So that's like the only interesting part. Like you actually go through security, like at that point to get in over there. But yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the things that you did in Okeechobee?
Yeah. So the first thing, like activity wise, I did there was drag bingo, which was so much fun. They had a bunch of drag queens coming up and calling bingo and just doing performances, which was really, really cool. So I did that one. We did drum and breath, right? That was the one we did, which was
Mhm.
really, really cool. And what I thought, I mean, you can obviously speak to this more than I can, but what I
Yeah.
really loved about that was she was mentioning specifically, like, oh, if you're pregnant or if XYZ, or if you have some kind of disability, like, here are other options for you to do for each specific move and pose, like
Mhm.
as she's, counting with the group. What else did I do? I did a few other ones, I feel
There
like.
there was a whole like not volunteer section, but like nonprofit section as
Oh
well. Like they were
yeah.
getting people to register to vote. Like there was like a whole section that you could get like involved, or if you like
Yeah.
wanted to volunteer, which was cool. And then the wellness forest was basically like in the middle, and it also was like this shaded area. There were a bunch of trees. I just went in there, like Lexi knew I was like, it's hot. So I would wake up, do my breakfast, shower. I would go to the wellness forest, and I got like a human design reading. I got a tarot card reading, which I fucking love. They had like, what was it? The permanent jewelry they were
Permanent
doing.
jewelry, massages. They had like they had like a men's
Yeah.
barber.
Yep. Had better
Yeah.
service in there, which I will say, thank the Lord Jesus, service was pretty good at this
Yeah.
festival, which was amazing. And I had even better service like when I went around like Toby Woby Village. So it was just like a nice break from the sun. Same with the Okeechobee. I'm glad we did that because on Sunday, which was one of the hottest days, that was like so. I just felt like I've never done an activity like that at a festival. So I was like proud of myself for getting up early, participating
Yeah.
in the activities they offered. I got to stretch. It felt so good to like feel connected to other people at the festival. There were other pregnant women like doing yoga there as well. So I like did really, really like that. And it made me be like at future camping festivals, I want to like wake my ass up early and also do like the free activities that they have to
Yeah.
offer.
And also, like, we didn't even have to wake up that early. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
wake up before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I never missed anything, like any of the fun activities I wanted to do, which I thought was really great.
Mhm.
Um, and because we were so central camping wise, like it took us 7 minutes to walk from
Literally.
like our front of our tent to Chobe Wobi Village. So
Yeah.
it was really easy to get there. And also the bamboo forest, which we haven't mentioned yet, which was really
Yeah.
pretty. They had like a tea tasting
Mhm.
thing inside the bamboo forest. You could like lay between the bamboo, which that was all shaded thanks to the
Mhm.
bamboo. This might not be something everyone cares about, but like they had little signs on the bamboo of like what type of like tree it was, which like I found really
Mhm.
interesting. They had like little rounds that you could decorate
Yep.
of the bamboo. You could paint the bamboo. Don't
Mhm.
touch the bamboo
Right.
after you paint the bamboo, or else you end up with a hand of paint like I did.
Let's see. Learn about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was cool. They had like, I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot to do, and the overall energy just felt very chill at this festival, which I very much appreciated. I was like, I just feel
Mhm.
like, yeah, I just am in a rhythm and there's stuff to do. We also got our hair braided. So there were braiding options. Squad Goals Beauty had a huge braiding area. Get Braidified had a braiding area. You can make appointments with them. So that was there. There was only one Ferris wheel on site, which was near Okeechobee, if you guys wanted to do that. But I will just mention like, so there were some shading structures, but there was also a lack of shading structures in general. Apparently Okeechobee years prior, which was the beach stage, was fully like covered. It had like a shading structure over the whole thing,
Yeah.
and they did not have that. This led to confusion when we checked into the camping because I saw the tented stage and I automatically assumed it was Okeechobee because I had seen photos of it, and that was the here stage. So I was like, oh, we're so far. This doesn't make it didn't make any sense to
Yeah.
me. And it was made like some people said it was because of the winds, the high winds, they didn't do it, but I don't know why. And I think that was a
Yeah.
mistake because that stage almost felt unusable to
Oh
me
yeah.
as sets started at like 1 or actually no, maybe even 12
I
or
think it
1
was
p.m.
12, yeah.
at Okeechobee, and it's like who people couldn't even sit out there because it
No.
was so freaking hot and it was like baking in the sun. So,
And that in turn led more people to go into the retention pond, which we'll
mhm,
obviously talk more about later.
yeah.
But yeah, it really did feel just unusable, like until the sun started to set a little bit, or a couple of the days there was a little bit of cloud cover, so like that, like
Mhm.
then you felt comfortable. But it was too hot. It was
It's
too
hot.
much.
Yeah, people were dying. And
And
then
all the shade that we were in Chobe Wobi for the most part was because of trees. Like it wasn't really a shade structure that was giving it. It was
mhm,
like just happened to be there because like the natural trees. So yeah, I really did feel like a lack of shading.
Definitely. And the art installations really like didn't have anything at all either. And then food and alcohol. So this, I will say, it started off real low. We ate a couple things and we were like, this sucks. Like the food options didn't seem great. We ate at a couple different places and like food was fucking expensive. I will say that. Like I got this quesadilla thing. Lexie and I went to the same like Mexican food truck that had literally no flavor. Fucking terrible. It was like $17
Awful.
for this. So that was super disappointing. Oh, what else did we eat?
The coffee.
I was so mad at this coffee, guys. Like I just was looking around and we hadn't like fully explored yet, but vendors said coffee on it. They gave me like this, I don't even know how to describe the container. It was fucking massive. It was 13 gallons. And it was like warm, watered down coffee. And I was like, do you have cream or sugar? They literally had warm coconut milk. That was it. And then this like crusty ass looking sugar. I tasted it. I was like, this is fucking disgusting. It was a waste of money. So
and I had ordered just a water
yeah,
from that vendor. Like she had got the coffee. I just got like a can of water because I wanted cold water. Also, the hydration stations there were not cold. Noted. And I didn't like press tip. And the woman turned the thing and added a tip for me. I did not choose that. Like,
that was we got better.
The vendor was just awful.
Yeah, not good. And then like luckily throughout the weekend we did find like our favorites. Like I did go to like a chicken teriyaki, like hibachi kind of situation that was like rice and lo mein and chicken. That was good. I ate twice. Then we found, I'm going to shout them out, Ubura Coffee, who was our Lord and Savior all weekend long.
Hey.
We're in the Grand Arctique. And as we came out of it, I just saw like nitro coffee. And I was like, fuck yes, that's going to be way better. They had so many different options. The coffee was delicious. And then they also had milkshakes on their menu. And we got milkshakes like literally 3 days in a row.
every time the guy was like, welcome back.
Yeah. I was like, I come here twice a day for my coffee and my milkshake. And it was delicious. So that was like the food, that food truck was good. I
got the chicken parm on a stick.
Chicken parm on a stick ended up being clutch. There was
really
one chicken tenders and fries place that was seasoned well. And then the Mac Attack place I discovered towards the end of the weekend, 22 doll hairs for mac and cheese with buffalo or barbecue chicken on it. Absolutely insane pricing. Was it delicious? Yes. $22. Insane.
How much chicken was really on it?
Yeah.
Questionable.
Right.
But it was really delicious and it did feel more filling than like a lot of the other things.
Exactly.
So it was, it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
And if you want to bring your own food, like again, like I literally ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for breakfast every day. We had granola bars. We had like our cold water and stuff. We bought snacks. We had muffins. So like we did kind of have breakfast and snacks situated. And we did end up going back to our tent, I think 2 of the nights to go get snacks at our tent to just like take back in with us. Yeah. But overall, it was a lot of the same vendors. I felt like there could have been more of a variety. When you went over near the Be and Now stage, which are the 2 like biggest stages, some of those vendors over there were a little different. Like Island Noodles was over there. Everyone was looking for it. So that section kind of had different, but like Chobe Wobe Village and here were like very similar of the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. It really felt like it was it was lacking like local food vendors. Other than like the Ubora coffee or the taco truck that wasn't great. Other than like the smaller trucks, it really did feel like these were just your very generic festival vendors and not anything local to give like any like unique local flavor, which I felt was lacking since Florida does have like a pretty good food culture. I wish I would have seen more like local options.
For sure. And the last thing I'll say about food too, if you are expecting, like I definitely, again, like Lexie knows every 2 hours, it was not even 2 hours. I was like, I gotta eat or I gotta pee. Yeah. It was like one of the two. And so I did want to, that was the only thing is like, I just missed like actual nutrients that are good for me. Like I just missed having like fruit and vegetables and things like that. Cause you do have to be careful. Like I wanted juice and then all of the juice stands, like they're sitting in these giant jugs in the sun. And like, you're not really supposed to have that because bacteria can grow in that. So like, I didn't want to try any of the juices. Same with cut up fruit. You have to be really careful of that. Lettuce, like there's certain things that have to be washed a certain way. So I just like stayed towards things that were like cooked for the most part. And then
carbs.
One place did have like fresh watermelon slices that I like saw them like cutting. So I was like, I'm going to just do that, but make sure you're eating or make sure you're bringing like plenty of your own snacks to have with you.
Yeah.
All right. Hot topic next. We're kind of getting into the juice now. So overall vibe of this festival, the juice is loose, baby. Initial thoughts on the festival and the vibes. What did you think?
Honestly, overall, I loved it. Like, absolutely loved it. Every person we came in contact with was so lovely, so welcoming, so kind. It was so chill, which as I get older, I am appreciating more and more and more and more and more. We never felt rushed. Like, overall, I fucking loved it and thought it was like very relaxed and very casual, which I just really am into. My inner hippie was really truly
loving it
for it.
I agree. Like you can see in the vlogs too, like from the first day, they just felt like, and this was very hyped up to us beforehand, I will say, like we heard nothing but good things about Okeechobee, but I agree. Like we kept calling it like a mini forest. Like, yes, there were very, very many differences between forest and Okeechobee, but it was a similar, like lax atmosphere, like very, very chilled out. Same thing. We never felt rushed. You had these little elements, like the Grand Artique still had like the trading post in it and like certain things that were at Forest, and the art installations were beautiful. You had this beach area, which was really pretty. The sunsets every night were like freaking gorgeous. The stages were cool. And then it's multi-genre. So like you get, I wrote down like, these were the most quirky characters I've ever met at any festival, like even more so than Forest. The random shit and the sense of humor this crowd had, like I had never seen so many fucking random things in my entire life, and it was hysterical and I loved it. So I really liked the people and the vibe, and like it sucked to read some comments online after about people saying like Plur wasn't there and blah blah blah. Like we really didn't experience that, and it sucks that everyone's is different. Like there's some things we're going to talk about that were negatives, of course, but I really didn't have an issue with the crowd personally.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I would say literally every single person we came in contact with was so Plur, like the embodiment of Plur even. So yeah, it was definitely really disheartening to see so many people had opposite experiences.
Yeah. And there were differences. Like I will say, like we noticed like clothing wise, it kind of was a mix. I would definitely say there was a lot more like chilled outfits, like very laid back, casual, maybe like more boho. There were a couple people who were like more ravey, like definitely dressed up. But I think it's good to bring options if you want to change. And then it's all ages. So we did see families, we saw kids, we saw pregnant women throughout the festival. So like that is there. These two girls who gave us stickers during the Grizz, that it was like the mom was walking around with them. And, happy Okie. And they were giving out little stickers before Grizz came on, which was so fucking cute.
One of my favorite moments was at the end of Grizz. We were standing in the back because you were like getting ready to leave, like right before he finished. And these parents like wheel their cart out of the crowd. And their like 4-year-old or maybe 5-year-old was like dead asleep in the car. Yeah. like that. It was so loud. It was so vibey because it was Grizz. He's a king. And this kid with his little giant headphones on was just dead asleep in the cart. I was like, wow, they clearly like trained him for this kind of environment because he had no problem sleeping.
So yeah, no, like there were so many moments I wrote down too. Like I had this totally random interaction with this guy. I was at the beatbox tent and he just like walked up to the tent. And he was like, you have really good energy. Like, are you happy? And I was like, I'm very happy. And then we just started talking. And I like told him I was pregnant, and he was like, you're growing a human life. And he's like, let's say a prayer together for your baby. And it was like the most beautiful. I was like, this man, like angel came out of nowhere. He had like the most beautiful soul. Yeah. We had this totally random, like deep conversation that lasted like 3 minutes. And then he just like disappeared into the crowd. So like, there are moments like that I was like, this is like the festival culture I love. Like you can like have this kind of conversation and then go on with your day. So that was cool.
On the more silly side, we had the glizzy. We were dancing at Rekno's big gay soiree in Jungle 51, and I was just vibing. I love Rekno. I love gay. And this guy in this like full hot dog costume just like ran up to us and started like wiggling with us. And he was like, you ever danced with a glizzy before? Yeah. We were just vibing. And then he just disappeared into the crowd. You know? So like just little moments like that were just so special.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. It was really funny. And we got to talk about this, the base crowd versus the house crowd, because if you're like, I went into this knowing, and I think Imagine Music Festival kind of set me up for this too, that it was going to be a way, way heavier bass crowd and that was going to be more popular, which was evident in the crowd size at some of the house and techno sets. Like you could clearly tell they were way more empty than the bass sets. just like a different energy, and like it could go either way. I felt like the base crowd was very like chilled. We got to talk about the sea of chillbos, because this was a very big lounging type of festival, like the most chillbos and if you don't know what those are, guys, those are like the blow up couches people bring into the crowds that you can like sit on and lounge in. I've never seen so many fucking chillbos in a crowd ever.
Chillbos as far as the eye can see.
It was like borderline ridiculous. I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
Okay, I honestly didn't mind it as much as I feel like a lot of people did, because I'm someone who uses a chillbo. But caveat, I'm not going to stand all the way up front if I'm going to be laying in my chillbo, right? Like I didn't mind it on the outskirts of a crowd. I didn't mind like walking around them, but I think there definitely were some in some like really problematic spaces, and no one accounted for like, if there's a medical emergency, how are people going to get rushed out? Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I didn't mind it. I took advantage of it a lot, but again, I was never in the front.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly. There were definitely some times where like, I totally agree. Like during the day, don't give a shit. If you're in the outskirts, that's where they should be. But like there were some times where we were like pretty close up to the front and people just like had their chillbos all over the ground. And I remember it was the last day. It was actually in the VIP area, which this was like all bass music at the Here stage. And we just walked into the VIP area and the entire section was chillbos, and we literally couldn't even like walk through the crowd to even get up there. And at that point I was like, if you're paying for VIP and you can't even like get through the crowd because there's so many fucking couches on the ground, like I would be pissed. Yeah. So it did seem like the etiquette of that.
And that really was mainly at the bass sets. So I think like you and I have unique perspectives here. You're more of a house head. I am more of a bass head. Yeah. So like I went into this festival being like so excited. The bass community is where I like live, laugh, love. Like that is my vibe. And honestly, I was like a bit disappointed in super honesty. Never the excision sets were fine. Honestly, I found that like the normal dubstep none of this is normal. The dubstep sets were normal crowd vibes. Peekaboo, excision, like that kind of thing. But the more experimental it got, which I love that music, don't get me wrong, this is not a judgment, the weirder the vibes got with the crowd specifically. Like,
agreed.
This is not a comment on the music at all. There were times where like you looked into the crowd and it felt just like a sea of zombies, like who didn't even feel like they were enjoying the set because they were so on whatever they were on, which no judgment. We go to festivals to like let loose and be free. But there were so many times where like I would look around and I'd be like, okay, everyone looks a little off. Like this is a little weird, as you know, we were both sober and it was just really off-putting at times. And as a bass head made me not want to be at those sets sometimes, which was really weird. And I'm not used to it because bass is where I live, right? So it was weird.
Interesting. It was, I agree with you. Like this could be a whole separate episode, but I will say like being fully sober, like not even drinking, because like, and I will raise my hand and say, I don't know the last festival I went to that like I didn't even have a drink. Like it doesn't happen. I work for an alcohol company. Like I drink a lot. So like to be dead sober the whole weekend, like I did notice the drug use was like very heavy. And again, like do whatever you got to do. But one, like the smoke was a lot. So I personally wore a mask during all of the evening sets because I just got like really, really conscious about like just people smoking like all around me, and I just wanted to be careful. So I think that helped in general, and I do recommend it because like Lexie's voice was dying the next morning, and I think it made a clear difference like wearing a mask.
Oh my God.
But anyway, no, there were definitely times I'd like look around in the crowd at a lot of sets and I was just like, some people just look so fucked up that they're not even like present. So like, are you even enjoying the set at that point? So there was a lot of that made me a little bit nervous, plus combine that with like the heat of the festival. Probably was leading to a lot of like medical emergencies with like dehydration at this festival. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because while vibes were immaculate, like the later the night went on and like the more into the night we went on, like people were under the influence. That is
people
for sure.
Were peopling for sure.
And
I'm someone who is almost always sober, like for that like perspective. I really only smoke weed. That's all I do. I don't drink. I don't partake in any other like party things. And even to me, this festival more than any other festival felt very druggy, which again, no judgment. We go to like be free, but I feel like it hits a point where, you know, for me, when did it when does it become less about like enhancing your experience rather than escaping the experience or escaping what's in your head? And so that for me was where I was worried about people around me. I just don't want anybody to get hurt or, you know, have any issues. So it was just more worrying than like judging those around me. Like I was just so on high alert of like wanting to make sure everyone was okay at all times.
Agreed. Yeah. And that's a good point. Like there were people we saw like in the Grand Artique who like clearly were living their life and planning whatever. And it was great. And it was so entertaining to see. And like, so I think again, just like think about your intentions going to the festival. Exactly. Like, are the substances enhancing your experience? Is it like a beautiful trip that you're going on? Like, just think about what you're doing and how much you're doing it. Cause like you would walk around and just see like people in chilbos, like completely fucking zooted out of their mind. And it's like, okay, what are we even doing here at this point?
And don't get me wrong, we're not in their head. They might have been having a great time. They just weren't visually showing it, right? But there were some people, like there were a few times where I, you know, we had separated and I was exploring by myself, and I just saw people like face down in the dirt, and they were fine, like they were moving, and their friends were talking around them, and I was like, "Hello, what is that? Like, this can't be enjoyable for you right now." You know what I mean? So again, I mean, no judgment. Do whatever makes you feel good, but make sure it's actually making you feel good rather than just like forcing you to escape whatever you're going through.
Great point. Yep, definitely. All right. Keeping us going. I know we've guys, I told you
sorry.
No. Let's quickly, because we've kind of talked about them, but let's just like briefly talk about the different stages and like what we thought about them. Yeah. So I think we've kind of covered Okeechobee. That was a campground stage. It switched genres. So most days it was bass music. Then one day it was like a Saturday was all, Sunday was like all house music, which was really cool. So that was that stage. And then, like we mentioned, the Jungle 51 stage, which was basically all house and techno. That stage was open the latest. So basically all the other stages would close. It varied, but by 3 a.m., Jungle 51 went till 7 a.m. every night. So that was like where you could go if you wanted to like stay out all night. Very cool vibes, like setting wise was my jam, but we went in there on Thursday night and it was as if it was a sauna. It was so hot and so dusty. We literally lasted like 10 minutes, maybe. And we were like, okay, we gotta go. Yeah.
It was really cool. Like I am not a house and techno girl, but the vibe in there was chef's kiss.
Yeah.
We just couldn't stay. We just couldn't stay in there.
Yeah. And we did Recno's Big Gay Soiree was in there during the day, which was really cool. But it's all like the palm trees. It's beautiful. The lasers, the way they hit the light. Balls. There's all the disco balls. And then Jungle 51 had its own bathrooms, there were drink vendors and food vendors in there too. So that was cool. And then the Grand Artique is kind of like a very, very mini stage. Like we said, it's in this like covered, like all tree area. Very, very cool. Decor.
Eclectic.
Yeah, like
eclectic. Like that's like the best word I could use. I fucking love Grand Artique. If you are looking just to let loose and be silly, like that's like just be silly, go to the Grand Artique. Like they had 2 little stages in there, like one very, very small one and then one like normal one. Mm-hmm. And it was just a good fucking time every time we went in there. That's my favorite stage.
Agreed. I will say though, we went there a couple times during the day just to hang out. But we did catch like some sets there, but there was just so many random things. It was like spoken word. There was like one DJ we saw. There was like a performer blowing like up bubbles the whole weekend. I don't know. If you wanted to like be entertained and see some characters, we would go to the Grand Artique. So very much a vibe.
And it felt like that's really where the hippies hung out. Like not just like the EDM and rave hippies, but like the actual like salt of the earth hippies, you know?
If you want to see people not wearing shoes, go to the Grand Artique. That's literally the vibe. And they had the trading post, like we mentioned. There was a lot of like hangout areas that were really cute. Like it kind of wrapped around and there was just like all these places you could just like sit and chill. And then like we mentioned, Be Here and Now were separate. You had to go through security to get over there. B I liked a lot. That was like the main stage where Odessa played, Grizz, Excision. It kind of reminded me of some of like Forest. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the B stage?
I loved it. I think it was weird. Like, I don't know if it was because of wind. I don't know if we ever got like confirmation. Excision had like almost no production at all, which if you know Excision, that is like
Mhm.
not normal for him. So that was a little bit weird, but Grizz in Odessa was incredible. The level of production they allowed on those main stages was pretty much unlike anything I've ever seen at a
Mhm.
festival, even including like EDC, because like EDC Vegas, even the main stage, like you still
Mhm.
get the same thing. Like Odessa and Grizz were both allowed to bring their full production, and that was like absolutely incredible for me.
It was so amazing seeing that. My first Odessa, like it was beautiful and it was such a big area. It was just a really, I don't know, I thought it was really special. And then I will mention we were in VIP for majority of it, and VIP was so fucking worth it at B stage. It was a huge area. They did have this one like covered area with like couches and tables underneath it, tons of food and vendors. I will say bathrooms at VIP, they literally had one trailer bathroom at both VIPs. So like definitely not enough for sure. For like main stages, like to have one bathroom seemed like a lot. Obviously there were GA bathrooms, porta potties, but those smelled fucking awful the entire weekend. You would literally walk by the porta potties and be like, oh my God, it smells like sewage. So I feel for any of you guys who had to use those porta potties. It was rough.
I've never been to a festival where the porta potties smelled so bad and wafted so far.
Yeah, it was
like
rough.
They clearly were not taking as much attention to those as they probably needed to.
Agreed. Yeah. So that wasn't good, but I will say VIP was very nice over there. And then again, like there were separate food vendors and stuff. I will mention, we haven't mentioned this yet, but Electrolyte was a sponsor. It's kind of like a Pedialyte kind of drink, a hydration, like electrolyte drink. And that was like a lifesaver all weekend long, I will say. So very happy that they had that there. And then Now Stage, we didn't go to literally at all.
Not even I don't even think we saw it
once. We walked by it and that was about, there just was not a single artist we wanted to see there. So I feel bad, but we didn't do Now.
That was like a lot of the like jam band and like hip hop rap artists. So which is just not our vibe. So
so we didn't do that. And then the Here Stage, I personally loved, like there definitely could be improvements on it, but I loved the shading structure. It basically like they like flapped in the wind. Like it just was really beautiful during the day and at night. But like the screens, like the visuals and stuff they had could have been like bigger. Like if you were in the back, I feel like you wouldn't have really seen it that much. But I did like the Hero Stage. I feel like we spent a good amount of time there too.
Yeah, we did. I thought the Hero Stage was really pretty. It was the perfect setting for Light Code, which I don't think we even touched on yet. Light Code by LS Dream is like a sound bath meditation for an hour, like through music. And it was like literally life-changing. But in that setting, it was the most perfect space. Like,
it was beautiful. It was packed for Light Code. I could not even, I was still finishing the Okeechobee class. And then I walked over there to get some clips. Lexie was like all the way up in the front and it was like spilling out on the sides. And again, this was like 10 or 11 a.m. on Sunday, which was very hot, and people like showed up for that. So that was really, really cool. And then VIP area at Here was pretty small. I will say it still was nice because we could use the bathroom there. They had one bar in there. They had a VIP concierge, but I would say like it, it was still nice to have, but it wasn't like crazy big or anything like that. So yeah, I think that was all the stages. Let me see if I missed. Oh, Incendia. We didn't go. You went to Incendia.
I did.
Never went.
Okay. Incendia was really cool. I was actually really impressed. I went to Incendia one time and it was the last day for Grizz and LS Dream surprise B2B. I had very little expectations. I've seen Incendia stages before. This was a bit bigger than I was expecting it. The fire was amazing. I also didn't expect it to fit like so many fucking people. I mean, everybody knew Grizz was on there. So I mean, like literally anyone who was awake at this hour was at this fucking set. And it was packed, but the sound really carried very well, like very far. So I was pretty impressed by it.
Hell yeah. And I will say that I'm glad you brought up sound. Sound was fucking great at this festival. The systems were all amazing. I mean, I definitely wore out earplugs, but even at Okeechobee, like for Chris Lorenzo, we were up in the front for a lot of it. And then we decided to go get food and sit in the back, and they had speakers like halfway through. And so we sat behind like the second layer of speakers, but at every stage, I felt like the sound quality was really fucking good.
Every stage.
And like clearly no sound bleed at all because the stages are all so separated. So that was really, really nice. And then lastly, there was an art car. Who would have known
it?
Can't confirm. There were sets I wanted to see too. apparently it was literally all the way in the fucking back behind the now stage. So a lot of people were like, that was pretty much just for like the campers who were all the way back there.
Yeah.
Which again, we didn't even talk about that, but like it goes to show you how different your experience can be based on where your campsite is. Cause I talked to some of you guys who were very, very far away from everything, like 30-minute walks. So you can bring a bike. People did have bikes that they chained up. So if you want to, you're not doing any sort of elevated option, you might want to do that because you might be walking
responsibly. I saw someone eat shit on their bicycle. And thankfully, they were totally fine. Like they were not hurt or even scraped, but like they were just riding, and I saw them wobbling, and I was like, "Oh no, honey, no!" And like literally, as I was saying, like, no, they just like ate shit, and I was like, "Oh."
Oh shit. And there were a lot of like the pedicab guys to get you wherever. I did hear mixed things. Like I heard people saying like some of them were a ripoff and the pricing was all over the place for those. So it wasn't really regulated, but there were a lot of like pedicab guys if you wanted to like use those one way or the other.
Yeah.
So you had that option. And then I think we've talked a lot about layout of the festival. We're going to get into like the heavier topics here. So safety and security. So security, we already covered going into the festival, very light, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
Security into Be Here and Now was quite frankly a joke. Lexie had her clear lunchbox, which we're going to plug that in a second. But so in your eyes, how did that go?
Okay. As someone who hates waiting in lines, I obviously love that there was very rarely a line to get in. But after you got through and you really thought about how relaxed they were, I mean, again, I had my clear lunchbox. They would literally just like pat it. I never even took it off my back.
Mm-hmm.
They never even asked me to take it off my back. They would just pat it and say, "You're good." Or some people, they would literally just like, "You're good."
Yeah.
Never opened it, nothing. Which again, I don't like waiting in lines. I love that. But from a safety perspective, they were fucking useless. Like literally useless.
Yeah, it was kind of like so I have my lunchbox. I opened the top pocket of it every time and they looked in, but that was about it. Like you technically were supposed to empty your water before going in there. You were not allowed to bring food and drink through there. Lexie and I were so nervous because we had our milkshakes. We literally just bought our milkshakes and we saw the sign and we were like, fuck, we're gonna have to throw out our fucking milkshakes. We were so annoyed, walked right through, didn't care at all.
Okay.
Should
we talk about how we tried to hide them the first night?
I literally put it in between my boobs and then just put my pashmina over it.
Put mine under my pashmina too. These guys had fully understood that we had fucking drinks on us, and they didn't care. The other nights we just walked right through with them.
Yeah. But this is the thing, and this is why it's like so different than any other festival. Like you already felt like you were in the festival because there's all these other things going on. And then it's literally just an entry point to 3 more stages. So part of me was like, I should be able to buy food and walk to these stages with it. Like literally all the same festival. Yeah. So I'm glad we were able to bring our coffee and milkshakes through there. But like unless you had, and I brought my clear snack pack as well, and was able to like walk right through with it. But yeah, the security, there were some people at the VIP area at here I remember like really enjoying. Like I remember the security guards were so nice and funny and entertaining, and I really appreciated that. But in general, hearing other people's stories, like they need to step up the amount of like seriousness and responsibility for these guys.
Yeah, because like I agree, like being able to bring in food and drink I think is like a must for this festival. Like there's no way they should stop specifically that, but someone could have brought in something unsafe and like a weapon of some kind and no one would have known because they were not even looking. So like it was pretty weird how relaxed they were, even though it was like relatively enjoyable in the moment.
For sure. While we're chatting about the clear bags too, I want to plug Lunchbox's new clear line, guys, because Lexie wore her clear hydration pack, which is brand new. I wore my clear snack pack, which is the fanny pack size. Not only was it a breeze for security because they can just look in the sides of it and see everything. So you're not taking stuff out. You don't have to open your bag. Like that was super convenient. The material it's made of holds up over time. It's super flexible. It's not that like really hard, flimsy, like TPU material that it's made out of. So it's really, really high quality. I absolutely loved it. And then with Lexie's, you can still zip on and off your skin. So it can be completely clear and then you can zip your skin back on. And it's called like a privacy panel. So like if I looked at you from the back of you, I saw like your beautiful skin design and your candy patterns that you had on it. But How did you enjoy using it for the first time?
I loved it. Honestly, I have both packs, like both the normal hydration pack and the clear one. I think I'll only be using the clear one moving forward because it was just so easy with security.
Yeah.
One thing I was worried about was like in the heat, how would the clear plastic like hold up? Like would it get like flimsy or like melty? And it was great. Like it never got overheated. I loved it. That was my first time using the new clear hydration pack and it was incredible.
Agreed. Yeah, I liked using it both ways because like really it was just super easy through security, which was super nice. So that is out now. If you guys want to check it out, my discount code is Capotis for the hydration pack. That'll save you $11 off. The snack pack is code Emma K. You'll get $5 off the snack pack. So if you guys want to go pick up the new clear line from Lunchbox, we got to shout them out because we love using that all week. Worth every fucking penny. Okay, back to the security conversation because this is going to be where we're going to talk about very, very serious things that happen at this festival. So talking about security and medical, because this is a big conversation. So other than the security we just talked about, like that was my experience with them, just like very lax. So medical, there was a pretty large medical tent in the Chobe area nearest to Jungle 51. And I guess you would say like Okeechobee kind of area over there that we passed by a couple times. After the fact, going back and looking at the map, and I pulled up a couple other festival maps because then I was just curious. It did blow my mind. On the map, that was the only medical tent marked. So near B Now and Here, which are main stages, there is not a single medical area marked on the map, which is a huge fucking problem because if you need an emergency and you don't know where to go, big problem. I pulled up Electric Forest's map. There are multiple Red Cross signs all over their map. And that came in handy for me because when I was at Tripoli and we saw somebody overdose in front of us, I knew that there was a med tent at the back of Tripoli. And that's literally how I was able to get help so fast. So it didn't like really click when we were there because I saw med staff like doing their job. But then to think about it after, like to only have one identified on the map is a huge fucking problem safety wise.
Yeah, especially for how many people were there. Like I ended up needing to go to the med tent for something like not serious. I had like a rash. And when I went, there were like 6 people in line, again, none of which looked super serious. Visibly they might have been, but to my eye it didn't look super serious. But there were only 3 people working in it, and again, some of their people might have been out helping other people, but to have 6 people in line for a med tent at the peak heat of the day, I was like, and they didn't have anything to help me. Like they don't have like they didn't have like a basic like cream, which again, they don't have to, but I don't know, the med tent, and this is not to the fault of the people working the med tent. Like I want to make that super clear. Like they are people who save lives and we love and respect that. There just needed to be more. There needed to be more of them.
Definitely. I agree. And I would say like separate from that is the ground control program. Yeah. So, and actually, so to go back to medical, I did ask a friend of mine who worked for ground control, like, was that the full deal? Was there other medical staff? And he said like backstage, like behind the stages, there are more medical like areas. You just get carted off to them like in those situations, but still they're not visible to the fans. And like, that's the problem. So with ground control, I heard that this was one of the biggest ground control programs that they've ever had at a festival before. I personally, so I was taking note again, like I was very observant this weekend. I saw them around checking on people. Everywhere. I saw them going up to people who were like sleeping on the ground, like being like, are you good? So and ground control, for those of you who don't know, is a program that Insomniac offers that's volunteer based. A lot of them are like, you know, fans who go through training.
Volunteer based.
Oh, it's not. Oh yeah. They're
no,
paid.
Ground control is actually paid.
Correct. And they work different like hourly shifts and things like that. And they're like the little angels. They walk around, they wear purple shirts, and they're just there to help if you need anything. They knock on bathroom doors. Like they really are just like checking to make sure people are like, okay. So that pissed me off because I did see like some comments online. Like I saw one that said like, oh, every ground control member I saw all weekend was fucked up. I didn't see any of that. I don't know if that's true at all. I don't think anybody who works for ground control would be fucked up on the job. So like, those are the comments and rumors that bother me because I know the ground control members like take their job seriously.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating, but they did have a big ground control presence. So then the other 2 like major things that happened. So with the incident that happened at the retention pond, so there was this pond, lake, whatever you want to call it, next to Okeechobee that was near Incendia, was kind of over there as well. People were swimming in it. every single day. Obviously, like we said, it was very, very hot. So people wanted to go cool down in there. They brought tubes, like other things like that. We did not go in the lake. We had a conversation about it beforehand. And like, I was just like, it's Florida. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's gross. Like, I don't know if there's bacteria in there. And then my mom started sending me alligator, literally asked Lexie if there were going to be alligators in there. My mom sent me like a text from like her friends who live in Florida who were like, oh, there's this like red algae right now that's like going on in the area. Like, I just wouldn't go in the water. So like, I have my parents texting me things like that too. So we did not go in it at all. However, Lexie and I had conversation throughout the weekend. We noted, does this not get roped off at night? Is there any security around it? Like, we were questioning like the safety of it throughout the weekend because we just thought that was bizarre as well. We didn't see anything at night, right? Like, there was nothing.
There were no lifeguards. There was no security. There was no one even working for Insomniacs or whatever the other company that helps run Okeechobee. There was nobody stationed there, which really, even just during the day, let alone at night, right? Obviously at night is the most important time, but like, there was nobody there at any time that we could see, like managing safety at the lake,
right?
Pond, whatever it is.
Right. And then again, like that bridge we mentioned from like the VIP area to the GA plus like RV area, I did see some people saying like that was like no one was there. I don't know if that was time of day. When it was later in the evening, like towards sunset, they checked our bands to go over the bridge. So like we saw somebody near that bridge, but again, that also felt unsafe. And I just was like, if it's super, super late at night and you're fucked up and you walk across this bridge, like you could just be inebriated and trip and fall in the water.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know. The bridge felt very unsafe too. So like there were just like a lot of things around that. So anyway, so that's kind of like what our thinking was about this all weekend. There was concerns for sure.
Oh yeah.
So I believe it was Saturday at some point, we started to hear rumblings that somebody had drowned in this pond, which was obviously extremely disturbing and upsetting, but you just don't know if that's actually true, right? Like you don't want to like spread rumors or misinformation. So we had heard that. And then I was not checking like Reddit or social media throughout the weekend. I was like doing posts, but I wasn't like actively online. Like you're kind of in a different headspace where you're like present in the festival.
Be here now.
Yeah, that's the whole point. And then Sunday, like very, very late, 9:30 at night, we were talking to a friend, a trusted source who confirmed that somebody had passed in the lake Friday night. I believe it was, into Saturday, like very early in the morning, something along those lines. This is where I was waiting to find like more information out about this. And I was waiting for Okeechobee to talk about it. They have confirmed it at this point. Okeechobee has made an official statement about this man's passing. I don't know. The whole situation, I just didn't want to like make any comments about it until we knew what happened. But I've read so many stories about like how he was discovered, which is extremely disturbing, like people stumbling upon his body in the lake. And not for nothing, again, Lexie and I had this conversation after we heard the rumor on Saturday. I verbatim said to Lexie, there's no way that happened because the lake wouldn't be open anymore. There would be swimming in it Sunday morning. In my mind, that's how I'm thinking. I'm like, there's no fucking way this lake's open if that had happened.
Why?
Well,
like
it is. And people are just fucking swimming in the water the rest of the week. That's the part that like baffles me more than anything is that literally no one had a clue. You didn't rope it off. We didn't like protect people's safety the rest of the weekend. We just like let the lake be open. Like, found out after who were swimming in it are so fucking disturbed and traumatized about it. It's like,
that was like almost the worst part on Insomniacs, like during the festival to me, because I understand from a event planning perspective, you can't cause panic, right? So I understand why they may not have been like blasting it everywhere that something had happened. But how do you let hundreds of people, because there are not a ton of people swimming all the time, but there are at least a few hundred at any given time. How do you let hundreds of people go swimming when a person just got pulled out of the water and their body had already set into rigor mortis? So their body had started breaking down in that water and you were letting these people swim. That to me was absolutely unacceptable. Like unacceptable.
It made my stomach turn. Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, I understand there are legal proceedings that need to happen. Like, obviously there's an investigation. Like, that's why even they waited that long to make a statement. Like, I was not trying to be reactionary towards the festival or anything like that too. Cause I fully understand, like, if there's like an investigation going on here, there's literally only so much Okeechobee is legally going to be allowed to say, like, or take accountability for, because they don't want to have a lawsuit, which I'm sure, who knows what will happen with that. But anyway, it was just extremely disturbing to hear that news on Sunday. I'll say this, like, we all go into a music festival wanting to have fun, wanting to let loose, be present, have these amazing experiences and connections, listen to music we love. Like, it's no one's goal, or this is a worst nightmare for family, friends, festival goers, organizers. Like, this is literally worst case scenario for everyone involved. So I just felt for everyone. I felt for the friend that like had confirmed that for us. Like, it just was sickening to hear that that's happening at such a beautiful event. It should have never happened in the first place. Yeah.
And I think it really was the culmination of all of the like security flaws that we had mentioned, like not enough medical, because I don't, again, this is all just like things I've read online, but like people who said they were the ones who like saw someone drowning and like tried to find someone from medical and couldn't. Not having enough security on the beach to take care of this, to like look out for people. I think it really was like a culmination of all of the lack of security and medical that was at this festival. That was the reason that something like this that should have been completely preventable happened.
Yeah, 100%. And there was like a lot of blame being put, and like, I wasn't in any of the camps. Like, it's not like, I just felt very like, it's not the time to blame. Like, it's the time to like mourn a person who like lost their life, which obviously was horrible. But throughout the weekend, just going back to like substance use and like all these other things that we had seen, there's also personal responsibility throughout this whole weekend too. And that just made me so nervous, because I felt like we had a conversation with one person who said they hadn't slept the whole weekend and hadn't like got back to their Airbnb and was just taking hour power naps every day. Like, and this is a completely separate conversation to what happened at the lake, but there just was also like, I feel like people were just abusing substances and not taking care of their bodies. And then not accounting for the level of heat, and then they're getting dehydrated, and then they're not in the right state of mind. And that puts a lot of pressure on the medical staff. So like, it goes both ways. And I just feel like the preparation beforehand, like your intentions going into a festival, the security of yourself and your friends, like you really, really need to think about, taking care of your body. I had Dance Safe on here, and we talked about this on the medical emergencies episode. And Rachel Clark was talking about some of the simple things she saw at EDC Vegas. And she was like, I've had people come up who are on acid trips who think something's happening to their body. I asked them what they ate and drank that day, and it was a severe lack of salt in their diet. And she would give them something to like up the salt. And she was like, that's what it is. People are literally not doing simple things to take care of their bodies throughout the day. They're just not eating. They're not drinking water. And that's the reality of it. So that is like a huge takeaway from this festival. It's like, moving forward, there's so many conversations we need to have about like security, safety of patrons. Anything near a body of water needs to be taken so extremely seriously. And on the other side, I just feel like festival goers need to be like way, way, way more careful with their personal health.
Yeah. And if you and your fam are going to a festival and you want to partake in things, someone should always be sober. Someone in your group should always be sober, or sober enough that if something happens, they can get you help. And this is something that my fam had taught me the second I started raving. Like, that is also part of why I am sober, is because someone needs to be able to get help if it is needed. Your time will not be lessened. Your experience will not be lessened if you are someone who decides to stay sober to keep the safety of your friends, right? And I think that, again, follows along with the responsibility part of Plur.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And again, like, I think this just brings it, because I asked Lexie, like, she had done Ember Shores before, and you can speak that too. I was like, this just brings into question so many things for me, because at Ember Shores, that's next to an ocean and there's a stage on the water. Like, is that patrolled?
It is. So especially during the day, I don't think so. Although, to be honest, I'm not really on the beach during the day, but at night, the hotel literally has staff on the water line the entire night. So that like, if someone, like, I saw a guy run in just to pee, and he was clearly drunk, right? And they immediately were like blowing a whistle, getting him out of the water. Like, they are so careful about that. So the fact that there was nobody at this lake was just bonkers.
Right. And I like, again, this is also like, we had talked to a couple people in the crowd who had gone to previous Okeechobees, and even some of them were like, oh, the vibes are different this year, or like clearly there were production costs, and like fully want to acknowledge as first timers, a lot of it is like beautiful and amazing and magical because we have nothing to compare it to. So like, I totally understand some people who were like, oh yeah, there were corners cut, or like there were certain things that weren't the same as years prior. So I don't know, like they may have never had incidents in this retention pond before, and we're like, why are we going to change anything? But that's not the right attitude to have about it. So anyway, it should never have happened. I really hope as a community, it just was super upsetting, like the language people were using towards each other and the finger pointing and stuff. It's like, how can we like come to a resolution here and do better for our festival goers' safety, like take security way more fucking seriously in the future. Like I'm sure Okeechobee is going to have all of these conversations moving forward, and I'm very curious to see what happens next year.
And I do think like relating to the community, another part of that is also not spreading rumors, because when we left, I was on Twitter as I always do. I wasn't even like looking up Okeechobee, and I was seeing like 4 women beaten to death in the campgrounds. Never happened. Someone, you know, being like beaten to death in Jungle 51, never happened. And I think the biggest thing is I understand where it's coming from, and it's coming from a place of fear. I mean, no one is spreading these rumors just to be malicious, you know, but especially if you are not at the event and you have no way to confirm what you are hearing, you shouldn't be posting it. You should, like, you know what I mean? Like, get fact check, get your sources right, because that spreads so much fear so fast. And I think it took away to some degree in the moment from the attention that really should have been put on the person who passed and how we can better the festival environment to make sure that doesn't happen again, because everyone was saying 6+ people passed away. No. And that took away from the fact that that one person passed in a way that should have been completely preventable.
100%.
And yeah, I think we really need to be much smarter about taking the time, fact checking, making sure we're not spreading rumors. We were walking back to our campground one night. And the guy behind us like made a comment about someone dying, but like very loud, was like jokingly like saying it to the crowd. And I turned around and I was like, this is how rumors start. Like, this isn't true. Like, because even though he was joking, and again, no malintent there, right? He was, you know, drunk, just having a good time, but that's how rumors spread. And that's how, you know, panic spreads. If a bunch of people had heard that and that turned into like a big group of people trying to run out, you know? So I think just being really mindful of how we're speaking about things like this in the future can help this community a lot.
That was so well said. I agree with you. Yeah. It just was like deeply troubling. And for my own mental health, like I told Lexie, I was like, I feel pressured to talk about it because people are jumping on this topic, but I was like, I don't have all the information. I'm not going to just start spewing things when I don't even know everything. And like, I want to hear what Okeechobee said. And I understand 1,000% the frustration with the festival, but like, maybe just because I have more knowledge of the festival industry, I was like, there's no way they're going to make a statement because it's an ongoing investigation. Like they legally can only say so much. So like, I know you wanted them to like own up and say something, but like there's things that have to happen in order when something like this happens at a festival. And this has happened at festivals in the past, you know, horribly. There's been overdoses at festivals. People have passed at other festivals. So it's again, like never something anybody wants to deal with, like literally worst nightmare. So I do want to leave Stevie Nugent's GoFundMe page in the description here if you guys want to go donate to that. Definitely recommend it. And again, like, let's just make this about bigger conversations about, and I'm going to use my platform moving forward on way more festival safety topics, because I think that's just something we should all just do going into festivals. And we'll talk more about substance use. I'm probably gonna have Dance Safe on here again, but for me, I just left it being like, cool. Okay. Now how do I use my platform to talk way fucking more about being healthier at festivals, being safer at festivals? How can events improve their logistics? How can we have more shading structures to show that we care about our fans? Like, this was something I grilled Imagine Music Festival for, because not one fucking stage at their festival in September in the Atlanta heat had shade, and it was brutal. So these are just things that like organizers need to do better on our behalf of. So I know that was a lot to end out the episode here, you guys. There was a lot going on. There was one other thing. I'll briefly mention this. I talk about it in my last vlog as well, but the very, very last thing on day 4 of the festival, I ended up dealing with another medical emergency. So Lexie and I had gone separate ways, and I was on my way back to my tent, and a girl had noticed a man lying face down in the ground on the GA area side. And immediately, again, it was like, here we go. Like, we got to jump into action here. So I ran and got like people from the VIP concierge. They came super quickly. They got security over there really quickly. And I just helped them like get their golf cart through the fence so that they could attend to this man. Luckily, he was conscious. They were able to wake him up. He sounded like super disoriented. But it was, again, just like, you know, when you get that adrenaline, like I just was like shaking, and I was like, fuck, here's another scenario. I hope this man's okay. They carted him off very quickly. So again, that experience I saw with security, they acted very fast. I was able to, but again, this is why it's like, be aware of your surroundings, know where things are at a festival, so that if you are in that situation, you know where security is, you know where medical is, ground control, like anybody that could help you in that kind of situation. End Overdose was also on site. I do want to mention that. And they were giving out free Narcan. Make sure you know how to use Narcan properly and when to use it properly. But yeah, hopefully we'll have more harm reduction on site at festivals as well if you need to. But anyway, so that ended up happening, which was pretty crazy on the last day. So I want to wrap up this episode with just kind of like wrapping this all together and giving you guys a quick recap so that Lexie and I can leave you here with our final thoughts. But I guess let's just chat about your top 5 sets if you have those in mind.
Oh, I have. Odessa and Grizz, life-changing, absolutely incredible. And then shocking as a basshead, but Tin Liquor and Chris Lorenzo, y'all. Emma changed this bitch. I literally walked into Tin Liquor and I was like, I'm gonna do my best, Emma. Like, if I have to leave, I'll leave, or I'll just lay in my chillbo and vibe out. One of the best sets I've ever seen. So yeah, I think those 4 were probably my favorite. I also really loved Recno. But yeah, Chris Lorenzo, daddy threw down. Yeah. I was sweating.
Yeah. Oh, Chris Lorenzo. I'm so glad. We literally have the same top 5. I have to say, like, I think after everything, Chris Lorenzo was my favorite set music wise, because that's just my genre. But having seen a full set of his, like, his track list was relentless. It was just like banger after banger after banger. Like, it just was incredible. We were dancing our ass off. It was the feel good thing we needed on Sunday. Yeah. And then 1000% Odessa, like, it's not even a comparison. I've never seen a live performance like that in my entire life. Like, Lexie hyped it up so much. One of my best friends loves them. But the fact that I got to see the whole drum line, they brought some of their the vocalists out to perform live. Like, I remember saying to Lexie, it felt like a historic moment because it was their first festival set back in 4 years. So you could tell for them that it was a big moment. And I just remember like soaking it all in, being like, this is a moment we're witnessing right now. Like, this is a festival history moment that we're seeing live. Like, it was incredible. Grizz was fucking insane. I wish my body wasn't literally shutting down on that set, because I did have to sit down like twice. Like, my body was like donezo. My legs were done, but the sound and the music blew me away. I've been listening to Grizz all week since. It just was amazing. And I agree. Tin Liquor. I liked Township Rebellion a lot. Their set was like pretty empty, but I really, really enjoyed their set. Yeah. And Peekaboo. I really loved
Peekaboo. Was great.
That was kind of like, I knew he was amazing anyway. Like, I know I don't talk about a lot of bass music, but he's one of my favorite bass artists. And I loved it. I loved his whole set. It was fucking fire. It was really good to hear his track with Skrillex, Hydrate, live. Sounded amazing.
Yeah. I will say also just one more thing about the Chris Lorenzo set. The crowd was 15 out of 10. Yeah. Like, truly, it was one of the most energetic, fun crowds I've been in a really, really long time. And I like was eating that shit up.
It was so fun. Lexie was like giving around. She made these beautiful cards for people that were like laminated. They were so freaking cute. And she was giving them out to people. And like, you could tell some people around us were like on one. Oh, it says the world is a better place with you in it. Like, the reaction, like watching people's reaction to getting her card and seeing it. Can you talk about that one guy?
Yeah. So like something I really wanted to do was try to give a lot more out to men, because I think men's mental health is not talked about enough. And I really, really wanted to like make that a point. And so I had found this guy in front of us who was dancing and just like so alive, so energetic, so infectious. And I just loved his energy. And so he was sitting in front of us and I had given him one. He instantly started crying. Like he didn't even have a second, and he was crying, and his friend in front of him just put her hand on him and was like, you really needed that, didn't you? And he was like, I needed that, like crying. And I started crying, and it was just like, this is why I go to festivals. Like, it was just that moment of like, this is why I love doing what we do, because it just to see the reaction, the smile, the tears, like life-changing.
It was so cute. Yeah, there were just so many moments of that crowd. And Lexie was also looking for crystals all weekend long. She was like, I just want to like buy a crystal or something. And during, I think it was at Saturday Wara right before, I was like just going through the crowd, like taking pictures, getting content. And this one guy was a subscriber and he was like, hey, here, take a crystal. And he had a little box of mini crystals. And I was like, shut the fuck up. I knew they would find their way to us at some point. So I took one. I was like, can I take one for my friend too? He's like, take one for your friend. So that like, yeah, there were cute moments. Like the gifting culture was pretty cool at Okeechobee. There was some really like fun things we got and that like we gave away. So yeah, so that was all really cool. But I agree with you. The Chris Lorenzo crowd was really, really fun. And honestly, I think we've covered plenty, guys. If you've been here for an hour and a half, you were a fucking absolute trooper. But lastly, super fast, I will do pros and cons list. I wrote this out. If you want to throw anything on here, Lexie, let me know, but I will drill through this. I put pros, vibes of this festival. Really, really enjoyed the vibes of them. I wrote how chill this festival felt compared for me personally to EDC Orlando this past fall. EDC Orlando was one of the most stressful festival weekends I've had in a long time because I just felt like I was running from thing to thing. I had, I was working with Slumberland. I had interviews I had to record. Like it was just jam-packed. And this is the complete opposite. I was like, you have time to enjoy. We have time to relax, do activities. Like the camping festival energy just is so much better. Wellness forests and activities were a pro. The art installations were a pro. I liked that there were mixed genres. Like, I don't know. I think that attracts like a fun crowd sometimes. VIP amenities, I would say are worth it. I would definitely do VIP again, probably RVs in the future. Super easy check-in and out of camp. One thing we didn't talk about was leaving camp. It took us 15 minutes to get out of this fucking campsite, which was a literal godsend because I had PTSD after Electric Forest. Took me 2 hours to get out of campgrounds. We woke up at 6:30 on Monday. We had packed up like almost everything the night before besides our tent. And we were like, let's just get up really early. We'll beat the traffic, blah, blah, blah. We wake up literally no line at all. We just drove right out of the festival and we were out of the festival in like 15 minutes. So highly recommend.
I sat in the airport for 9.5 hours.
I know Lexie couldn't move her flight up, which fucking sucks. Oh my God. So that's the only thing. It depends on like when you think you're going to leave. Like just think about that too. It may have been different in GA. I'm not sure. And then we had cell service at this festival. That was a pro.
Good service. And all we had heard beforehand was how like you will have literally zero service. And we had great service the entire time.
Yeah. So that was good. Cons, heat and lack of shade for sure. Like just know you're getting into that in Florida. Lack of security. I put the showers started flooding. So again, the showers were nice. I don't know if this happened to you.
This did not happen to me.
The trailer bathrooms I went to, when I opened the door, the entire floor of the bathroom was water all over it. And 2 of the shower stalls were completely like flooded.
Ew.
So that was gross. Yeah. So I was just like, ugh, and I just waited for one of the ones to come out, but that was kind of gross. Food prices and choices. I'm going to say those were a miss for me. Yeah. Even though there were some good options overall. Not great.
3 out of 30 that were good. Yeah, no, it was a hard miss for me.
Yeah, not good. And then one of my cons is the chill boat etiquette. Not in general. I liked the lounging. I liked that option, but I think there was way too fucking many of them very up close at some of the stages, which drove me a little crazy.
Agreed. No, I agree. It's specifically the etiquette, not the use of.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Had a lot of
I
fun.
feel like you pretty much covered it all. I mean, I don't know if there are any others I would add there. The only thing I will say about the Art Pro is it's literally called Okeechobee Music and Arts Festival. I don't think there was enough to call it an arts festival.
Mm,
And from people we had talked to who go every year, they said there was usually much more. So I think that was probably one of the places they cut back this year. But
mm.
I was expecting a bit more. The
Fair
ones that were there were beautiful, but I did want more.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. That's everything, you guys. That is Okeechobee in a nutshell, at least our experience of it. And again, thank you for hanging out here if you made it all the way to the end of this. But yeah, I will just say, like, unless you experience it yourself, I would reserve judgments. There was just so much shit thrown around online this past week, and a lot of it was untrue. So I hope we shed some light on what this festival was actually like. And again, moving forward, definitely working on some episodes and resources for you guys about festival safety so that can be more of a conversation happening. And yeah, we just appreciate you being here. And Lexie, thank you so much for being a trooper through this episode.
Yeah, so much fun. I loved it.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much again. Shout out to our sponsors. If you want to check out any of that, it will be linked down below in the description box. You can follow us at Rave Culture Cast on all of the platforms. We have an amazing Facebook group community and Discord as well. Lexie, where can everybody find you?
I'm at life_of Lexie pretty much everywhere.
Beautiful. All right, go give her a follow, show her some love and support. And if you want to check out the vlogs, those are up on YouTube, you guys. So go enjoy those. And we will see you next Wednesday with a new episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.